Welcome to the advanced tutorials of the Berkeley Publisher. In this series, you will learn the more complex functions of the Berkeley Publisher. If this is your first time watching a Berkeley Bridge tutorial, I would highly recommend you to check out our series of basic tutorials on how to draft a non-disclosure agreement first, as we will be using the same example for most of the advanced tutorials. You can go to the basic tutorials by clicking on the stones right here. Now, let's start with the first tutorial in this series, Advanced Questions. In this tutorial, you will learn just how many options the question feature in the Berkeley Studio has to offer. To start, open the finished NDA model that you have made in the last series of tutorials. If you no longer have this file, you can download the model used in this tutorial via the link in the description below. Let's start by adding a question. In this menu, one can find multiple inputs. Every single one of these inputs has its own distinct types, found in their respective drop-down menu. Before we go into what every input is capable of, it's important to mention one option that returns in every single input, the default box. Whatever you write in this field will appear as the default answer in your finished product. This can be very helpful for the end user of your application, as it gives them a little push in the right direction. Another important feature of questions to remember is the not null type. This feature is meant for required information. Selecting a not null type for a question will disallow the end user to continue if he or she does not enter the information that is asked. This can be used for every feature by selecting a not null type or adding it manually. To do this, click the pencil and select the not null checkbox. Let's move on to the first input, text. This input is pretty straightforward. The information that you ask from the user can be given in one word or sentence. However, it does give you a range of options in terms of types. These are very simple but can come in handy on many occasions. The first type is email. To illustrate what this type does, let's take a closer look by clicking the pencil. The string mask determines what kind of answer can be entered. For this type, the string mask only allows characters that are valid in email addresses. On top of that, there is also an indicated structure, with an @ sign in between the two parts of the address. If the end user does not stick to the rules of the string mask, by for example adding an invalid character, an error text will pop up. This text can be modified in the error text box. Let's move on to the next input, memo. This input is almost the same as text, but it gives the user more space to write out his or her answer. This input is therefore often used with more complicated questions or questions that generally require a longer answer. A handy feature of memo is read-only. The title gives it away. Selecting this type will only allow the end user to see the answer box, but he or she cannot edit its contents. The read-only feature can also be toggled manually by going into expert mode and ticking the box. The third input is number. This input is quite self-explanatory, as it only allows a numerical input as an answer. The types of this input allow you to increase the precision of the number. For example, number precision 1 allows you to choose a number with 1 decimal. Expert mode also allows you to set a minimum and a maximum for the number. As you can see, you can also make sure that this answer is not null or read-only. For some questions, you might need boxes to tick. For these kind of questions, you select the checkbox input. To elaborate on the answer, you can always add text next to the checkbox. The next input, combo box, allows you to have a drop-down menu, like this one, as an answer template. An example of such an answer is the chord type, which we used earlier in the basic tutorials. You can either select one of the existing types or add your own by clicking the green plus. You can also make this input not null, read-only, or have a default answer set for the end user to see. Input number 6 is a list box. This input is similar to the combo box, but instead of getting a drop-down menu, the list box provides a box with a list of options. The next input on the list is one we have seen before, radio group. This input is typically used for multiple choice questions with only one set answer. If more than one answer is possible, you will have to choose the checkbox input. Lastly, we have the date input. Like the types email and number, the date input focuses on one kind of answer, a date. Every date input also includes a drop-down calendar menu in which you can select the appropriate date. You can also select the period of time in which the date should be, by setting a minimum and maximum in expert mode. You now have a more complete overview of what you can do with questions in the Berkeley Publisher. To continue this series of advanced tutorials, go on to the next video, which teaches you how to increase studio efficiency by copying and pasting your graphs.